Hey, Dylan. Thanks for being here. I'm really excited to be able to talk to you about your experiences. And again, as we mentioned, like right before we hit the record button, I am very grateful that you decided to kind of share this with me and trust me with your story and feel comfortable enough to sort of share it to the world at this point. So we were talking a little bit about some of the experiences you had, and you said you wanted to start with probably your earliest memory or earliest experience of like a paranormal or spiritual encounter. So I'm gonna let you sort of like take it away.
All right, appreciate it. Once again, yeah, I appreciate you doing this for me, and you're the best for this task. You are the best that I've been looking for. I've been looking for interviews for like the last 2 years, and once I came across your interview with the guy and that dog man encounter experience, I was like, it's her, it's her. So I reached out, and here we are.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Of
All
course.
right, so look, I was I was two. I was either 2 or 3 years old. Lived in Capitol Heights. My mom and dad, my mom, dad, and brother, and me. My mother and father had went out that night. Don't know where they went. I think they went out to dinner or went out to a play. I do not remember. We had a babysitter come over, which was our next door neighbor's older son. His name was Greg White. Um, it was early too. It was probably. It seemed like it might have been like no more than like. It was like between 7:45, 8:15. I was in the bed. I had to be in the bed. So my brother was downstairs with a guy named with the babysitter Greg. I was upstairs on a mattress on the floor in my brother's room. All right. Lights were out. The only light that was coming into the room was coming from downstairs hallway, living room, shining up the stairs into the room. Everything else is dark. Um, the door was slightly open, maybe I don't know, 8 to 10 inches. And I
Mhm.
was on this mattress, and I was underneath the covers. I put the covers totally over my head, and I don't know, man. Just I blinked, and it was a white dot in front of me, and I thought it was my eyes playing with me. So I remember blinking my. I remember I'm like 2 or 3 years old. I remember this like it happened last night. I was blinking my eyes to see if this was some sort of side effect of my eyesight,
Yeah.
and that light stayed there. So I realized once I realized it snapped my eyes, this thing is actually really in front of me. When I say in front of me, it was no more than maybe like 20 inches in front of my face, but it was down towards where like my knees or shin would be, and it
Okay.
started coming towards. It started
Mhm.
coming towards my face. When I saw that light, I was laying down. When I was blinking and realized that thing is actually there, I sat up underneath the covers. So I'm sitting
Mhm.
up in the bed with the covers over my head, and I see this light. And now it's moving towards my face. And as it's moving towards my face, it started getting bigger. It's like not overly big, but it was when I say it was a dot, it was like it was a pin the size of a pinhead. The light was the size of the tip of a pinhead. But when it started moving towards me, once it
Uh-huh.
got to probably within about maybe 4 to 5 inches of my face, I threw the covers off my head because I was trying to like push it away from my face.
Right.
So I pushed my hands out in front of my face and the covers flew off my head, right? So I looked around, I didn't see it. So I put the covers back over my head to look underneath the covers again to see if it was there. It was
Yeah.
gone. Okay.
Okay.
So that incident, the way I told it, it was a quick incident, but it was a scene in that incident that kind of expanded. It gave me a visual of just everything instantly. Like my life, man, it sounds crazy to talk about. And that's
Right.
probably why for the longest time I just kept it to myself because there's really no way to word this stuff.
Hmm.
It's really no way to word this stuff. How do you say in the snap of a finger you can see 45 years of your life? In the snap of a finger, you can't. How do you translate that to somebody or tell it to somebody so they can perceive what you're saying? Because when I talk to people, I kind of want them to feel or see, imagine what I'm trying to state to them. So, like, for the longest
Yeah.
time, I was like, I don't know how to articulate that to anybody. So I just keep that to myself. But that's what happened. That small instance of this light, it basically told me everything. It told me like how things were going to go. If I decide to go this way, this is what's going to happen. So my life all the stuff that came after that, all the years later, to me, whoever's responsible for that light, they're the ones behind all the stuff that I've seen after. So that's 72, 73. All right. When that took place. The next, let's jump to 81, 82, 82, 83. Even it was before I went to Carroll. So from 81 to maybe 84. And
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in that time period, I was in seventh and eighth grade. And on Fridays, I went to a school. It's called Capital Lutheran East. It was in Forestville, Maryland. And on Fridays, I would go over to my friend Eric's house to play video games.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember. I don't know how Eric got home. I think it was a school bus. I think I rode the school bus with him to his house, his neighborhood. And anyway, we play video games. I stay over there, I don't know, 90 minutes to 2 hours. So now I got to work my way back home. Eric lived in a neighborhood off of Branch Avenue. You look all this stuff up. I'll show you the location and everything. He lived off Branch Avenue. This is in considered Temple Hills or Hillcrest Heights, Maryland. Anyway, he lived next to this main artery that runs through Maryland into DC on the southeast side. I had to
Okay.
cross Branch Avenue. And it was 2 lanes back then. And I went across the first side, the side that goes toward DC. I went across those 2 lanes, no problem. Got on the medium strip. I was approaching the next side, which is going south towards Clinton. And it was 2 lanes. The first lane had cars that were stopped in it because it was a red light. So I
Mm-hmm.
ran between the cars in the first lane and was approaching the second lane, which was empty. And at the last second, I saw like a Hertz or a U-Haul truck coming from my right. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized I'm not going to make it. So I stopped. I was running like full speed and I stopped
Yeah.
at the last second and went up on my tippy toes. And I went up on my tippy toes because I was moving so fast. I started falling into the lane.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna die because this truck is getting ready to hit me when I fall into this lane. I probably won't even hit the asphalt because I'll be falling when he hits me. It was close.
Yeah.
Soon as I thought that, there was a hand on my chest. I was tilted at like a 45-degree angle to the asphalt. It was no way I was able to do that. It was a hand on my chest. I felt it. I felt it. It was a physical hand in the center of my chest, and I just stopped. The next thing I see is a yellow blur. Then the blur is gone. I see the what do you call the lane? The Not the lane, but the part where you ain't supposed to drive on the side. Whatever. I see the side of the road,
Yeah.
and the hand releases, and I fall into the lane. Now that took place, let's say 10 years after that light.
Right.
When that happened, I'm thinking that's them. But as you know, when I'm 13, 14, I'm like, what the hell was that? I'm going over, what the hell was that? What in the world was that? I picked up my
Right.
books. I made my way to the parking lot of Iverson Mall, caught the bus to my dad's house, and the whole way home, as I was walking through that lot, you just imagine my face was just like in shock because all I'm thinking about is what in the hell? What was that? Who was that? How did they
Right.
do that? What the hell? That's the only thing I kept thinking. What in the hell was that? What in the hell was that? Go to my dad's house. My mom picked me up, and she knew something was wrong, and she asked me what's wrong, and I said, I almost died today. And she was like, what are you talking about? I said, I almost got hit by a truck.
Mm.
But I didn't get hit by the truck because a hand was on my chest. And she, it's my mom. Like she loved me. I wouldn't make nothing up like that. And she just looked at me. I said, I don't know. I don't know what that was. And that boggled my mind for the longest time. But that is related to that light. All right. So they were there. As they told me, they told me, we're gonna be with you throughout your life. You know, we're gonna try to guide you in a certain direction, basically. You still your own person. You know what I'm saying? You still have your own will, but we're gonna try to assist when we can assist. And I've thought about that incident on Branch Avenue for the longest time. And one thing I came to the conclusion, that's a possible conclusion, is if I would not have tried to stop myself, I don't think they would have assisted that. I think that would have played out with me getting hit by that truck. But the
Mm.
fact that I put forth the effort to stop, then they was
Hmm.
probably like, well, okay, he's trying, so let's help him out. But that thing was on my chest. And I have never forgotten that. I have never forgotten that incident. So cut to 1993,
Hmm.
94, 95. The X-Files comes out. And one of the
Yes.
images that they have at the beginning of their show is a hand. It's that hand, it's a
Okay.
hand that's in, it's Carillion photography. As soon as I saw that image in 93, 94, it instantly took me back to Branch Avenue. I was like, now why would they do that? Anyway, anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's the first thing I wanted to get into. Okay.
Hmm.
Any questions? Because I'm gonna go
Oh,
into the
for
next thing.
oh, for sure. Hold on. Okay, we got
Okay.
questions. So the first
Yep.
thing that I wanted to point out was the incident with when you were 2 or 3. So I mean, typically people when they say that I remember things when I was 1 or 2 years old, they get brushed off as like crazy because how can you possibly have a memory when you were so young, right? So the fact that
Mm-hmm.
you had a very young memory to me is very interesting. The fact that you had a young such a young memory um to me is very key to all this. Like that light, you said that when you saw it, it got bigger. How big? First of all, my first question is how big did it get before you freaked out and like threw the covers off of yourself?
When it the biggest it got was probably like a quarter of an inch. A
Okay.
quarter, that's the widest it got to before I threw that. That's when I knew that just said what, once it started
Yeah.
growing on me, I'm like, oh, what is this? And it was coming towards me. I was like, okay, okay. And we got to
Oh.
like just maybe 3 to 4, maybe no more than 5 inches from my face. I pushed those covers, but the width of that thing got to about a quarter of an inch, no more than a half an inch. But it
Hmm.
wasn't the size of that pinhead. And I've for the longest time, like when I started getting into like metaphysics in the late 80s, when I started going to the bookstores, every now and then I see somebody talking about channeling and the higher celestial beings that they've been in contact with, and I would be looking for similar accounts because I came to the conclusion there's no way nobody else has never seen something like this. I At one point when I was younger, you know what I thought? I thought everybody went through that. I said this must be something that
Oh,
everybody goes through, just like a young woman has a period at a certain time in her life. I thought
right.
that light was common.
I
I thought that was a
see.
common thing for everybody. I thought everybody at some point in their evolution as a human being, you birthed in, you incarnate, you come through the womb and you're here, and then at some point everybody sees that light. I thought it was a common thing. It took me until years later into my 20s, I realized, that ain't really that common. I'm like,
No.
wow, okay. For the longest time, I thought everybody went through it. And when I'm asking around and people looking at me like I'm crazy, when I was younger, they were like, I have no idea what you're talking about, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't mean to go on a
No,
rant.
no, you didn't cut me off. It was, and I'm glad that you're just like elaborating on this. And it's interesting because you're right. Like this is not something that most people like have an encounter of. Like you're the first person that I've ever heard talking about a light. And not just a light, because like people see lights all the time. It's not the light. It's what you saw or what you experienced with the light. Because you said that in the light in that fraction in that fragment of moments that those fraction of seconds that you were experiencing this light you were also getting downloads so you were also getting information. How did that information come to you? Because you said you saw it, but like was it like images, was it words, was it like I don't know, how was that, how
Check
did
this.
you? Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is, man, it's the best way I can do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Invisible words that you can
Okay.
see, but
Yes.
visual. This is visual and it's
Yes.
an instant. Now, let me give you an example what I'm talking about. After that happened, when I went over to my grandmother's house, after that, okay, so
Yeah.
we stayed at my grandmother's throughout the summertime. My grandmother lived in Northeast DC off of 19th Avenue, Benning Road. Up until that point, I had no problem going over there. When that happened with that light, after that, I dreaded going over to my grandmother's house. Never told nobody why. The
Hmm.
reason why is because after I went over there, it's a sidewalk. You look out my grandmother's front porch. You go to the left, the corner across the street, the corner, the sidewalk goes to the street. Right on that little strip of sidewalk, as a little kid, I would always see three guys coming to kill me on that sidewalk. As a little kid, I'm two, three, four, five, six. You know what I'm saying? I'm young. And
Yeah.
every time I would go over there, I would see that. But before that light happened, I never saw that. I never saw
Right.
that. Never had a problem going to my grandmother's house. Loved going over there. But after that, that's what I saw. So that was a part of my construct, my conscious construct in life. Okay, so that's we're talking in the 70s. So
Yeah.
2015, that sidewalk, three guys, black hoodies, cocking their guns, coming down that sidewalk at me while I was in my car. 2015, do the math on that from 72, 73, 74 up into 2015. It happened. I saw that as
Yeah.
a little kid. That light has shown me so much. It's shown me, like I said, it's shown me my whole life. So I started moving differently throughout life because of what I saw. In that
Yeah.
thing, it was, when you ask, what was it like? It was just like a fly. It was just like everything at once, everything at once.
Mm.
And that everything
Yeah.
is my life at once. And every bit of information you need to draw from is in that instant. It's in that instance. And it's there. It's visual too. It's really hard to explain invisible words.
Yeah.
How are you going to see words that are invisible? I don't know, but you will see them. I'll give you an example with that. You know the word fractal?
Yeah.
Okay. I never seen that word before. Never heard
Mm.
of it.
Mm.
I don't remember the year this happened. This is sometime in the 2000s. Went into a meditative state. I saw that word, but it was invisible. It was as clear as day, but it was invisible. It wasn't like FRACTAL, but I saw it. Got up out of the
Yes.
state, Googled it. I Googled it. And when I Googled it, it was what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to describe it, but it was there. I can see it, but it's not like you can draw it. But when you see it, when I saw that, I can't explain invisible words that can be seen. I just don't know how to articulate it for somebody to understand it. And the only thing that I can really dig down to say is, um, it's a knowing, a
Yes.
knowing. It's a knowing. How do you word knowing? How do you word a knowing? How do you have some type of physical representation of knowing? And that's about all I can say. But with that light and these things throughout my life that took place, like again with those three dudes coming down that sidewalk, I
Mm-hmm.
saw that as a little kid. And I never, like, when my uncle used to walk me up that sidewalk to go to the park, which is at the top of that little hill where the sidewalk goes up. At the top of the hill, little playground. Every time we would walk up it, I would just dread walking up it. All
Mm-hmm.
throughout all those summers we went there, and I just never said anything. And then sure enough, 2015, here we go. This is what I've been seeing all my life, and it's happening now. So because I had that guidance and was
Mm-hmm.
shown things, I knew how to move, and I was just assisted in moving where I would not get. I was able to avoid some danger, basically.
Yeah.
All right, I was able to avoid danger, but it's been there with me, and I just, I was like, well, should I come out and talk about this? Maybe I'm not supposed to tell nobody, and that's the way it works. And then I was thinking, that's a bunch of nonsense, because then what is the point?
Mm.
Why, what's the point of having these experiences and not sharing them with nobody? That doesn't even make any sense. You
Yeah.
would have to be given this opportunity, not to hoard it and take it to your grave,
Yeah, to
but
share it,
share it, basically. Yeah.
yeah, to share it. No, absolutely. And I'm wondering now, did two things. So did everything that you see or that was downloaded, this information that came to you, did everything play out exactly how you saw it, or did some things change because you have free will, so because of your actions or your decisions in your life, did some things just not happen, or did they happen differently? Because that's
For the
something that I'm
most
wondering.
part, for the most
Hmm.
part, everything has taken place the way I've seen it. But you definitely can change certain things. You
Right.
can definitely change certain things. And I did change one thing,
What if you
and
don't
it has
mind
to do with,
sharing? Hmm.
no, I don't mind. It had to do with boxing
Okay.
and going into that whole thing. And I could realize, okay, I can do this. But then my thoughts on the profession changed. I was like, the only reason it changed is because my mind kept expanding. And I
Yeah.
said, do I want to be known just for this? And then I
Mm.
thought, I think that's kind of a wasted life just to be known for being able to hit a bag or hit a person in the face. So
Right.
I started looking at boxing in a whole different light, and I
Yeah.
changed. But if I hadn't, I would have gone. The reason why I say I would have gone on to do this and that is because people started knowing my name. I started going into camps with world champions. I got pictures to prove it. I got the check stubs from the camps of Don King. You know what I'm saying? So I was getting out there. People knew my name. Don King's son knows me, you know,
Oh,
and I could tell that I was actually going to really be able to do all this stuff. You know, I
yeah.
went into three different camps with champions, and people was like, who is this guy? Like, how's he? Who the hell is this dude? Where he come from? So I'm like, okay, if I keep going, I will be on one day on HBO. I did get on HBO. I'm not gonna go into that. I did get on HBO, but I could tell that
Oh,
I can actually do this if I really wanted to. But my mind was disinformation. My mind is this information: metaphysics, esoterics, new age,
mm,
conscious evolution. That's my life.
yeah.
And that whole boxing thing just it didn't equate. It didn't have the same significance as this. So
Right.
I started going in another direction. So yes, you can change it, but for the most part, most of those events have taken place just like I saw them about to take place, just like I was told that
I,
they would take place. Give you another example, since we're talking
mm-hmm,
about that.
mm-hmm,
August 19th, 2003, I was on the road 495 going south towards Woodrow Wilson Bridge. I was I was passing Andrews Air Force Base. Snap, here we go again with another vision. This was crystal
mm,
clear. This was like looking at a um a big screen TV, a widescreen, flat screen.
yeah.
The vision was, damn, I really honestly don't feel like going into this in detail, but I'm gonna give you a brief synopsis. I had a vision while I was driving. The vision was in the snap of a finger. And that snap, I saw the next 45 to 60 seconds play out. What I
Mm-hmm,
saw was in the fourth lane, a car was coming in the fourth lane. The guy was flying, had been doing over 100. He loses control. Once he gets up on us, because it was cars beside me, in this vision, right? Once he gets up beside us, he loses control, swerves, hits me. I bounce off the guardrail. The end of the vision, gone. I'm in the car. As soon as that happened, I was like, what in the hell was that? I
mm,
looked in the rearview mirror for the car, like right after the vision was gone. This was so profound, Deborah, that if you know me, you know I don't drive 55 miles an hour. Easily
mm,
average, 75, 80, easily, right?
mm-hmm.
This vision was so clear, I slowed my car down
Good.
to 55. I put
Good.
on my seatbelt. Now, if you're sitting in the passenger seat seeing me do this, you would look at me like, what in the hell is wrong with you? You never do this. That's what I was. I was preparing. That's how clear this was. I looked in the rearview mirror. I don't see a car.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how if you look in the rear view, you might not you feel that you're not seeing everything. So I physically
Yeah.
turned around in the driver's seat to look for the car. I don't see the car.
Mm-hmm.
I turn back around. I look. I put both hands on the steering wheel. I'm like, this is getting ready to happen. I know it is. I look over
Yeah.
to my left at the car in the fourth lane. I look at the third lane. It was cars in every lane. We were almost like parallel. You got to remember, I'm the fifth car. There's a car in
Okay.
front of me in the second lane. So I'm in the second lane. There's a car in front of me. Okay.
Yeah.
To the right of me, which is the first lane, there's a car.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe not even a car lane in front of me in this first lane. Car in front of me in the second lane, a car to my right in the first lane. Third lane, there's a car. That car in the third lane was the furthest one out. He was more so in the lead. In the fourth lane, there was a car that was basically like beside me, but he's in the fourth. I'm in the second. I look
Yeah.
in the rearview mirror and I see the car. I see a car in the fourth lane doing exactly what I saw in that vision. He was flying. This
Yeah.
dude he got up on us in about maybe like 10 seconds. He was
Yeah.
about he was about, I give him a quarter mile. He was about a quarter mile back. And he got up on us in about 7 to 10 seconds. And when he
Yeah.
came up on us, he was in the fourth lane and he got in the third lane because he was gonna try to get in between the third and the fourth, the third lane and the fourth lane's car's position. He was gonna
Mm-hmm.
try to get in between those two. right?
Mm.
And at the last second, he realized he didn't have enough room to get between him. So he hit his brakes. When he hit his brakes, his car started swerving, right?
Of course.
So he's swerving, and I'm saying, this is it. That's what he was doing in the vision. So I'm in the second lane. I move over to the first lane because in the
Hmm.
vision he hits me in the second lane, right?
Yeah.
So I get to the first lane. So I'm like, I'm clear now. I'm kind of relaxed. Like, all right, he gonna swerve. And he was swerving, and he was constantly swerving. His swerves were getting wider and wider, wider and wider. At about the third or fourth swerve, he came over into the second lane where I was just at, right?
Right.
And there was no collision because I'm not there. So I
Right.
kind of laughed like I kind of laughed like, okay, yeah, okay, that I'm relaxed now because I was supposed to be right there. He ain't hit me. So I'm like, yeah. So he goes back over to the third lane, swerving. He comes back across, crosses the second lane into the first lane, and he smacks me, and I'm out of control. When that's happening, I out loud, audibly out of my mouth in the car, I said, I cannot believe this S is happening. I said it out loud in the car.
Yeah.
I hit the guardrail. When I hit the guardrail, all I see is white smoke in the car. I don't see
Hmm.
nothing but just white smoke, like I'm in a cloud. The car,
Yeah.
I don't know what the car is doing. I don't know what the car is doing, but
Mm.
I'm trying to I'm playing with like holding onto the steering wheel, trying to control it. And the car
Yeah.
is obviously swerving. I just can't see outside the windows because all this smoke.
Hmm.
Basically, when everything came to a conclusion and stopped, I was in the third lane, pointed towards the medium strip. I get out the car. The car is bent in a reverse C, or like a V, but tilted to the left. My car was bent. It was bent in the center, like where the driver's side
Yeah.
door is. It was bent. I get out of the car
Oh.
and I walk to the medium strip. Now, like I'm in a daze. I'm in a daze because I hit my head on the driver's side window. So I go to
Yeah.
the medium strip. I fall down. I actually ran to the medium strip because it was cars still coming down the highway that were braking and everything because of what had just happened. And it was a big 18 wheeler that was coming. I could hear it squealing. And I remember thinking this thing is going to hit me. So I ran to the medium strip and fell. And luckily it didn't topple down on me. I was thinking the most craziest stuff at this moment as it was happening. So I get back up, I look, I see a Honda Accord across the road on the I don't know why I can't think of what that's called. The like when you're driving down the road and the side of the road you can't go on. Think of that.
The
Anyway, he's
other.
on the
Yeah.
side. And
Yeah.
yeah, he's I see his car kind of like down maybe like 200 feet. I see headlights on the side pointing back towards us, and this guy runs up and he's like, I'm sorry. I don't even know who this guy is because I'm in a daze. And he's the guy that hit me. The side of my head was numb. I put my hand up to my head and I could feel it was like swollen, like this is the side of my head from my ear up to
Yeah.
almost like third of the way on the left side of my head. All that was swollen. It was numb. And he was a drunk driver. He took me out. But the vision, just back to the vision, I saw that in an instant. I saw the whole thing in an instant. And back to that light. There they go again. There they go
Uh,
again. That's the only thing I can think is that's them. And I said, I was used to tell my girlfriend, I was like, there's no way. This is when I used to start arguing about psychic stuff.
mm.
I was like, that was given to me. I don't think I pulled that out of the ethers. I think that was given to me. I never told her about that light even when I was little, but I was just telling her that somebody gave that to me, warning me if this is about to happen, you might as well start preparing yourself because this is going to go down. So those type of incidences have been out throughout my life,
And
where
you
it's
never
like
con
I'm
yeah.
walking away from this. Go ahead, I'm
You
listening.
never, no, you never considered whether or not you had abilities like clairvoyance or like some sort of psychic connection. Because from what you're describing to me and from what I understand from the spirit realm, like those very well could have been and may have been your guides, just showing you a snapshot of your life. And you were so highly tuned, like these psychic abilities, you were just happened to be one of these individuals that were just more sensitive and this is how they communicate with you. Because from like how I communicate with my guides, you understand they speak to me, but others it can be visions, and others it can be light, or it can be, and they communicate in whatever way. Did you ever um try to reach out to them or consider that you had these abilities and try to develop them further?
I absolutely what you're saying. I think it's both. I just didn't
Okay.
go into it. It's both. I'm
Mm,
attuned to it, and they reach out to me. I think it's both.
right.
Yes, to your question about have I ever reached out to them? Okay, I'm gonna just tell you this. Now,
Okay.
after in '89, once I started like having these visions when I was younger, we haven't gone into '85 when I had my first sleep paralysis, and then '89 when I read journeys. We ain't going to that yet, but we'll get into it anyway. Once I got into all that and started realizing, oh, I'm more than my physical body. Okay, I have a
Yes.
second body. Okay, let's start going into these states when I lay down. Let's start meditating, blah, 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 blah. Okay, they were reaching out and showing me, yeah, we've been here. We've been here with you the whole time. You're just now
Yeah.
remembering this stuff. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. One day I said, all right, because they were like bringing people to me. I was saying,
Yes.
all right, I would literally say this. I'd be by myself in my room and just kind of laughing at the notion that I'm asking myself or talking to my so-called quote unquote spiritual guides. I would laugh to myself thinking, something is wrong with me. But I
Mm-hmm.
would say, okay, if you guys are there, bring Jerome Hawkins to me. I hadn't seen Jerome in 10 years,
Yeah.
right? Jerome was a friend of mine from Largo. He was a deep guy, man. He was I think he was a martial artist. So this guy was like, he was a very deep individual. He was very highly attuned to spiritual matters. And we were close. The first time I met him, I knew we were going to be friends for life. He was cool. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I hadn't seen him in 10 years. So I was like, okay, if you guys are really, you know, here, watching over me and this and that. I want you to
Mm-hmm.
bring Jerome Hawkins to me. So I come home on one of my breaks in '96. I go over to my dad's house, which I hadn't lived with my dad since 1980. So I go to my dad's house, just stop through there. My dad wasn't home. I'm rummaging through my old belongings as a child. I would just go over there briefly, grab stuff, leave. As I'm doing that, knock on the door, go downstairs. I look out the peephole. It's Jerome.
Mm-hmm.
So, so when I was looking through the peephole, I screamed, Jerome! I screamed, Jerome! And I opened the door and I was like, what's up, man? He's like, what's up, man? How you been, man? I was like, dude, I knew you were coming. And I remember hugging him and just like, I was like laughing and kind of like, it was just, I was so happy. I was so happy to
Ah,
see him. I just grabbed him like, I can't believe this, man. I was like, dude, I hadn't seen him since like '85, '86.
yeah. Oh.
And then this happens. I'm like, I just asked him to bring this dude to me. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's one incident. I'm gonna give you another one of asking them to, talking to them. This is after the Jerome thing. I was like, all right, this is the last time I'm gonna do this because I didn't want to be like pestering them. So I said,
Right.
I want you guys to wake me up at 4:37 in the a.m. That's like a
Mm.
time I've never ever woken up in my life. I said, okay, you guys wake me up at 4:37, and then I won't ask you to do this no more. Right? That's the end
Yeah.
of my asking of them to prove themselves. That night, go to bed. I was dead sleep. I was dead sleep, and out of the darkness, in the darkness of my in the depths of my sleep, a voice said, "I thought you wanted to be up at 4:37." The voice was crystal clear. I came up out of my sleep, looked at the clock. It was 4:37, and I
Perfect.
started crying. I started crying because that was a voice.
Mm-hmm.
A physical voice came out of the darkness and told me the time and told me, I thought you wanted to be up at 4:37. And I
Nice.
never, after that, I never questioned them again. I never questioned it ever again. And so I have proof. That story, I told nobody about that, other than like my brother. I've told nobody
Yeah.
publicly that, but that happened. So when people, they question the stuff, and how do you know dude? I've had some wild experiences, man, where they have come outright and told me, yes, we're right here. They're just
Yeah.
like guys that are walking with, and you have to realize, or I had to realize, if this is happening to me, if I have these individuals here assisting me throughout life, it's no reason for me not to believe that everybody else has the same thing. Just people aren't in tune with that information, or they don't even ponder knowing that
Yep.
they have assistance throughout life and they think
Yep.
they're alone,
Yep.
you know? And I would like when I was younger, I was like, I came to a point I was like, what if everybody knew this? Do you know how
Huh.
much peace we would have in the world if everybody knew this?
Hmm.
That was like one of my
Right.
objectives was to tell as many people as possible about this type of information.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
That
yeah,
is.
as far as I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's incredible. Like you met your guides so young and they were the ones that placed that hand on your chest. Like absolutely 100% that was them. And then they're the ones who have
Without a
given
question.
you, yeah, without question. And they're the ones who have given you access to this information, your this ability to sense things or to see things. Like it's you can tell like you're totally clairvoyant and you can probably even channel them too. You just, you know, I don't know
I've tried,
how,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Let
I
me
mean,
give
you
you, can I give you another?
of
I'm sorry,
course.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go. No, no, no. Go, go, go. I'm loving this. Yes.
When I went, all right, when I went home in 2015, and this is to kind of build on the accident and to
Yeah.
build on the Jerome incident. When I went
Okay.
home in 2015, that was when I was working on that Solomon Islands video and another video, Ingo Swan. I had to go home for 10 months because my
Oh,
dad was
yeah.
passing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to get, we had to prep the houses and stuff and clean out stuff. So I had to be home for 10 months. But anyway, this is 2015. I wake up one morning and a woman by the name of Deneen Mitchell is on my mind. Deneen Mitchell was a young woman that lived in my neighborhood in Capitol Heights, who was the older sister of Tracy, and I can't think of that other girl, but she was like the most beautifulest woman in the neighborhood. But because she was out of my age range, me and her never crossed paths. That was my
Mm-hmm.
brother's friend.
Okay.
Deneen was like, 7, 8 years older than me. We had no reason to be talking to each other because I'm younger. She knew me and
Yeah.
she knew who I was because I was the
Yeah.
younger brother of her friend.
Yeah.
But we and her never talked. We never ever spoke to each other.
Right.
Okay, so that's the last time she showed me was like 82. Okay,
Yeah.
so in 2015, I wake up. Deneen Mitchell is on my mind.
Hmm.
Deneen Mitchell has she has contacts in her eyes. She has contacts and she's light skinned. Deneen Mitchell has blonde hair. She
Yeah.
has I want to call them Afro puffs, but no, Bantu knots. That's what they call them. The image that I see in my mind is Deneen Mitchell with contacts, green contacts, Bantu knots in her head.
Yeah.
She has on a black wool coat. And I see
Mm.
this image of her, but it's not the Deneen that I knew when I was growing up, because this is
Yeah.
what, 35, 40 years later, right?
Yeah.
So I'm seeing her in my mind and I'm asking, why is she on my mind?
Yeah.
Me and Janine never knew what is going on. So I was thinking, what I thought, I finally came to the conclusion, am going to run into Janine.
Yeah.
This is why she's on I'm going to see her. That's has to be why she's on my mind. So lo and behold, I have to walk. We lived off of Lyman Place. I walked from Lyman Place to downtown DC, like the heart of Washington DC. I had to go down there. I had to walk. That walk takes about an hour to get there. To come back, same thing. I had to walk past Union Station. I'm coming up the sidewalk in front of Union Station. I look about 70, 80 feet in front of me, and the image that was in my mind was walking towards me.
Huh.
Bantu knots, light skin, the black coat, wool coat.
Yeah.
She's walking. I walked right up to her and said, "Excuse me, is your name Deneen Mitchell?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Deneen, I am such and such from Capitol Heights, Kevin's little brother. You are not going to believe this, but when I woke up this morning, I saw you." And she said, "Oh, is that right? The Lord speaks to you too." And she said, "Boy, come here, give me a hug." We
Oh.
hugged. Yeah, we hugged. And I'm like, I'm still kind of, it's, even though, I've been prepping myself my whole life for this, when the stuff still goes down, it still kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've been seeing her all morning long, and now she's standing right here in front of me. standing right here from me,
That's
exactly how I
incredible.
saw her. And yeah, and again, me and Janine never spoke ever. The last time she saw me, I was like 11, 12 years old. Why in the world am I waking up and she's on my mind, not looking like she looked when we were younger? I knew exactly how she was going to look, exactly what she would have on, exactly how her hair was going to be. The contacts with it, man, it was incredible. I mean, that's like a small little incident, but it's a big thing to happen
Yeah.
to somebody. So that was another thing. I was like, somebody is responsible for that. I don't know if I necessarily tap into I think they realize you got to go down the Northwest, you got to walk past Union. Let's try to line him up with somebody that he might know from his past. Okay, we know because they look at everybody. The whole planet to them is like Google. They can see everybody. They know everybody's life. They know what people got to do. Okay, well, this woman, she grew up where he lived at back in the 80s. She has to walk that way. Okay, her name, that's the name. Okay, let's put that in his head, kind of freak him out, see what he does. And then watch. That was another thing I come to realize. I think those tests also to watch your reaction. So if you,
Hmm.
a person who's,
Okay.
a person, I can't remember exactly when and where I found this out at, but they run tests to judge emotional response in a person to see
Hmm.
how they are evolving. So I started spending a lot of time on controlling my emotion. When I was younger,
Oh,
if I
good.
got mad about something, we got to fight. When I
Yeah.
was younger, and as I grew older, I started managing my emotions more to the point where I became obsessed with controlling myself. So
Yeah.
in these instances that started popping up, I started managing and I started focusing on managing me not becoming too excited and
Yeah.
trying to maintain my composure. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
that the main thing I had to play it cool, like, that's just a part of this. That's how it is. Keep it to yourself. You don't have to run out and tell the world and remain calm. So
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, maybe I'm passing with flying colors. So I maintain my composure and my energy and my emotions in these instances. So I learned with time to, play it cool and open yourself up more. You open yourself up
Yeah.
more. I feel anyway that you open yourself up more when you can maintain control of your emotions, have that discipline. I mean, that comes along with the projection of the astral body, learning how to facilitate that sleep paralysis to get out of. You have to be
Mhm.
disciplined enough to be able to sit still for 40 minutes to focus. So a lot of people, I tell them, that's one of the main things I tell people out of everything. If we ever have any discussions, whenever I talk to people, I always try to reiterate that point of your emotions are key to this. Your emotions are key to these abilities.
Yes, absolutely. And oh my God, so we have to get into the astral projection. But I just wanted to point out that you have incredible precog abilities, like premonitions and precog abilities. Like whoever your guides are, like are really like tapped in, and they help you sort of access that information, whatever way you have the access. I mean, however that works, it's pretty awesome. And then you say now that you astral project, which is a whole nother level of oh my God, of psychic ability or like of an ability of like a paranormal or spiritual ability because astral projection, like you're basically having an out of body experience or you're walking in different realms. Like you are other places. So how does that work? Like how did that start for you? And you said that, controlling your emotions is a big part of that. Absolutely. And this goes for any kind of gift that you can have. But how does that show up for you and how have you controlled it and when did it start?
Okay, 1985. I was homesick from
Mm,
school. I was laying on my stomach. Now, prior to this, my brother used to always talk about, waking up in the middle of the night and he couldn't move and he'd be, asking my
yes.
mom and dad, what is it? He didn't know what it was. So I always heard these stories about being paralyzed. I
Yeah.
always heard those stories from him. So 85, I was home sick. I was asleep on my stomach. Come to think of it, I was on a mattress on the floor in my room, but we lived in Fort Washington now. It was me and my mom. My mom left my dad in 80. So
Hmm.
this is 85, 5 years after my mom left my dad. I was in my room. It was probably, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning, maybe 9 o'clock in the morning. My mom was in her room. She was on the phone talking to her friend. And
Hmm.
I woke up. I was on a mattress on the floor on my stomach. I woke up, couldn't move. So I'm stuck. And I'm like, first thing I thought was, oh, this is what my brother was talking about. Didn't scare me. I could not move. I felt like I was made of cement. I could not move nothing but my eyeballs. So
Yeah.
a minute go by, and I remember thinking, okay, my brother always says he breaks up out of it after about a minute or two. So
Hmm.
I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna ride this out, and I'm cool with it. I'm not scared, not terrified. After about 2 minutes, I started getting real concerned. Once we got to 3 and 4 minutes, I started panicking because I was calling for my mother and she didn't do anything. She kept talking on the phone. I was like, I know she hear me. I was screaming, Mom, help me. I can't move. And I started panicking, and we're at 5 minutes now. I blanked out. When I came to, I jumped up out of the bed and ran in my mother's room and said, why didn't you come help me? I couldn't move. I couldn't move. That's the first experience. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, what my brother's talking about is real. It's
Yeah.
real. It happened to me. I know exactly what he's talking about. Okay, cool. 89, I got a book called Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe. It was the first printing
Mm.
of it. Actually got it from my brother. I actually took it from him. He never knew I had it until, like, I don't know, 10, 15 years later. But I took it out of his drawer and I read the book. And in the book, it's a small little simple exercise, a breathing exercise that he
Mm.
speaks about in like one of the paragraphs. And I applied it and it worked. I was able to get to the sleep paralysis state using that one little instructional paragraph in that book. So I get to sleep paralysis. So I'm able to recreate the event that I had in 85.
Yes.
I actually caused sleep paralysis. So I was like, oh man, I'm causing it. I actually made it happen. So I was like, let me see if I can do it again. I did it
Yeah.
again. The third time I did it, I was like, okay, I got total control of this. I know how to make this happen.
Hmm.
Then I started, every time I laid down, I was going into sleep paralysis. It seemed like every time I laid down, I was going into a sleep paralysis state. So I started
Mm.
playing around with it for the next 2, 3 years.
Yeah.
So 89, 90, 91, I was playing around with that. Every time I lay down, every night, I'm going into a state. I'm trying to see what's going on. I'm frozen. I hear sounds. I'm seeing stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, One profound incident when I in the early stages is I saw a three-dimensional cube. I was
Yeah.
working towards going into a sleep paralysis like I had been doing hundreds of times, but except instead of me going into a sleep paralysis, something interjected and took absolute control of my conscious mind.
Mm.
And when I say it took control of my mind, that means if I opened my eyeballs, I did not see my room. I saw this blackness, and I saw in the midst of that blackness, I saw a blue three-dimensional cube, exactly like the Tesseract from those Avenger
Hmm.
movies. It looked
Yes.
exactly like that in 1991. Okay,
Mm.
I saw that. When I saw that cube, another cube appeared over the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at this thing. It looked like, when you go to Best Buy and you look at those 4K Ultra TVs, the clarity on the
Yeah.
televisions in Best Buy,
Hmm.
it was that clear. It was clear like that. And I see these two cubes and they started rotating. The first one was on a 33 degree axis. The second one, I want to say, was 66. But they were both on their axis, but they were overlapping each other and they started rotating slowly and picking up speed and picking up speed. And they rotated so fast that no longer was I looking at two cubes. All I saw was a sphere, a blue,
Mm.
a light blue, see-through sphere, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this. I have whatever's showing me this has total control of my mind. I'm looking at this, and then it started. The sphere went away, and then I saw the two cubes again, and they were slowing down, slowing down, slowing down, slowing down, almost to a stopping point. Then it stops. The one that came second, that disappeared. And what was left? was that first cube just sitting
Mm-hmm.
there. And then that cube vanished. And then I saw a what do you call it? An acute triangle, laser blue light, same light as the cube, an
Yeah.
acute triangle. And inside the acute triangle, the darkness was darker than the outside of it, whatever that means. In my
Interesting.
mind, I was thinking, I'm supposed to go inside that thing, but I didn't do that. I looked at it, then that disappeared. And then I saw an L shape made of four squares, four three-dimensional squares forming an L, just like on the chessboard, when the way the knight moves on the chessboard. I
Yeah.
saw that and it was tilted. It was kind of tilted on its corner. And that flashed and was gone. Then release. My mind is back. I can see my room popped up. This was probably about 1:40 in the night because I remember calling my brother. It was real late. And I told him what happened. So, yes, I was going through a lot of stuff back then. Those cubes, same thing with downloads. I could I could sense and feel these things were giving me something, giving me information. And it was just something that over time I started unlocking a little bit of what that stuff was.
Oh.
Yeah,
But stuff
those
about your
cubes.
life? Stuff about your life or just about life in general?
No, this was this what they were what I was being shown and nothing to do with Earth. It was like existence, the fabric of reality beyond our time,
Mm,
consciousness. It's something beyond just this third dimensional plane. And it was
yeah.
like over time, over years, little bits and pieces of information started filtering back to those images that I was seeing. Yep.
And
So, man, go ahead. I'm listening.
can you give if an example of a type of information that maybe that cube relayed to you that like
Okay.
later you sort of unlocked? Yeah.
Okay. All right. We are, we are everything and nothing. We are everything and nothing. We are infinite, and there's no limitations. There's no boundaries to our existence. Now, how is that possible? All we really truly are is conscious energy. We're
Mm,
from it. It's a part of us. And that what we are exists in every single element, every single item, every single inanimate object on the planet. We are all one thing.
yes.
So this was opening me up to a whole new perspective on life. And that was once I started looking at the world that way, not only the world existence that way, that's why that boxing thing was not going to work out for me, even when I got into it. I kind of
Mm,
knew, I don't know how long this is going to last because that was drawing me back to what I was truly meant to be here for. So that observation of existence that's in my head now, I decided there's no way I cannot give this to other people. I'm going to have to find out another way to deliver this to other people. I'm gonna have to tell other people. But that whole thing, the perception of reality, the
yeah.
perception of what we are, um, we're just it's time. It's there is no time. It's layers and layers and layers upon reality on top of each other. So then you start thinking about deja vu and how did I know that was gonna happen and why does this feel so familiar? I
Mm,
started looking at so much that it became to the point where I can either drive myself crazy or fall back and let things fall into place. So I had to take
yeah.
time off from even focusing on this stuff because it can drive you in it can drive you into insanity.
Yes, it can.
But that's I don't know, that's what I can say about those geometrical shapes opening me up. So now I gotta once I get into worrying about existence and how we are everything. And then I went back into the Bible and started looking at prophets. I started reading a whole
Oh,
bunch of stuff and trying to like relate or find common denominators in their messages. And basically along the lines is when you look at all that, we're all vibrating from the same source. We're all vibrating from the same source. And if you listen real closely, like right now, if you turn everything off right now and really listen, you're gonna hear a hum. It might
oh
be
yeah.
very low. It's in you. Yeah, it's in you. That's creation. That's the beginning. That doesn't have an end. The beginning and the end. There is no ending. We are that. That's what we are. We're just in physical form. So that's what I was shown. And then you got to deal with other life forms. You got to deal with
Yeah.
other civilizations all the
Mm-hmm.
way on the other side of the universe, so far where you can't even perceive the distances between
Oh,
universes. That's one
100%.
thing I want to say right quickly. I want to say right quickly. The solar system, the length or the distance from Earth to the end of the solar system is so vast. People don't even get how much space it is between planets to go out there.
No.
They don't get the distance is so vast. So imagine that's just the solar system. So now you got to go beyond that. Take your mind beyond that and try to
Exactly.
like try to digest that mentally. You're going to come to a point when you think about it. You're going to come to a point where you just can't.
No.
You can't put a limitation on it because there is no limitation. That's what you are. That's what that was showing me. So when those cubes turn into that sphere, first thing I thought was a planet. Then I thought that thing's alive. That sphere is representing the planet. The next thing that I was given was that's you. That's telling me I'm that. I'm that sphere. That sphere is that planet. That planet is you. You and that planet are one. Now that goes to every individual on the planet. Okay. Now once every individual on the planet gets that gets that translation or gets that perception of self, then that goes to the next planet, into the next solar system, into the next universe. You gotta like your mind, it's like, man, consciousness,
Yeah.
we're always gonna be evolving forward. Every planet does the same thing, constantly evolving. You gotta figure out for self, how do you want to go about dealing with that information? I don't want
Yeah.
to sound like I'm rambling and talking crazy. You got to figure
No.
out how you want to deal with that because it can get a hold of you and it could rip you apart. So I
Yeah.
had to like start keeping a lot of stuff to myself, and I'm going out in public and I'm treating people as we're all one thing because that's what I'm seeing from the stuff that I was given or the stuff that I saw. We're all the same thing. It's like, so then that changes my perspective, that changes my emotional reactions to things that would have made me angry a year or two ago. Now I'm different now. So now I got to move different. But yeah, being shown the universe, which is basically that's what you are. Many people have said this before. Many people in the New Age community have said this before. And I remember
Yeah.
used to reading that stuff, and I used to think they just sound like hippies. I used to like laugh at them.
I know.
Like as yeah, when I was younger, I used
Yeah.
to like,
Yeah.
well, what are y'all talking about?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
get it now. Yeah, but I get it now. And they are so on the mark. I told somebody not long ago, I was like, I owe a lot of authors apologies, especially when it deals with
Mm,
projection, because I remember when I was first getting into it and learning how to go into the sleep paralysis, which the first time it took me like 55 minutes. And then by the third time, I got it down to like 30 minutes. 30 minutes, all
oh,
I had to
nice.
do was relax. I can get into sleep paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to read books by authors who was talking about projecting and the way that they would be writing it will seem so lollygagging, so easy. I used to be like, that's BS. It's not like that. Why are they writing it like that? I owe a lot of them my apologies because it is like that. The older you get, the more and more you practice it, it gets so easy that it ain't even funny. It gets ridiculously easy. And I'm like, so now, beyond 2013, 14, now I'm at the stage that they were at when I was reading in the early 90s. I'm at their stage in 2013, 14, 50 that they were at when I was reading their books
Yeah.
in 90, 91, 92. You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I owe a lot of people apologies. They were correct. They were much
Yeah.
older than me back then. I just didn't
You
have enough maturity. I didn't have a maturity level to acknowledge that maybe they have more experience than me. I was gung ho jumping into this stuff and happy to be
you
learning new stuff.
you and me both. I mean, I come from a
Yeah.
background where I wasn't like a believer. I was a complete atheist. I didn't believe in any of this stuff. People would talk about these experiences and I thought that they were like con artists and like scammers or just like, feeding people bullshit and like hope and all that stuff until lo and behold, I become a medium and a channeler, and I get access to information in my guides and everything. And I'm just like, oh, OMG, have I been completely wrong? And I mean, obviously, this was a situation. Like I didn't all of a sudden like, hi, I'm a medium. Like this was, a learning
Right.
process and entering into this world and being open to it and kind of leaning into the unknown and these paranormal experiences or these spiritual experiences, somewhat like you. And it's just listening to you describe what you saw about the cubes and the information of the cubes and this image or like this visual uh gave you was beautiful because it's one of the things that I've also learned too in my own now as a medium and having access to these entities and these beings that we really are connected. We really are one. When they say that the world was like created, like the universe was created out of breath, the hum that you speak of, like it all just like connects back into the fact that like there definitely is a creator. We all are part of this creator. This
Absolutely.
is all interconnected, you understand? And this is like this life, this is the cube. Like for me, when you say the cube, like the cube and it's in esoteric and occult studies, like the cube is the material realm. And then the sphere, right, is that connected whole, more spiritual realm. So for the cube to become the sphere and the sphere to then become the cube, it's that sort of like duality, you understand, of the spiritual and the material. And the fact that you got this in a visual, oh my God, what is it called now? I'm like
Yep. A
blanking out.
vision. Yep.
Yeah, like a vision. Thank you. A vision is perfect. Like it's beautiful. And not many people get this opportunity to have this information. And then when they do, even less people, have the courage to speak about it and then share it to the world and then act upon it, like embody it. And that's the biggest thing too, right? Like we get this information, but then we kind of like toss it aside or we get too busy because the other part of this, like the other like aspect of this is also embodying this lifestyle, embodying this truth, like, being an example. And the fact that you say that you've switched your whole like perception of life and you owe these people an apology and it's helped you like um oh my God, balance out your emotions and just like giving you a new perspective is precisely what it's meant to do. It's meant to help you evolve. It's meant to help you understand and to like grow and then help others grow along with you. So I think that this is like absolutely perfect. And I'm so excited that you shared this with me. Thank you.
Absolutely. No problem. You're definitely welcome. What you said about the cube
Yes.
representing physicality and
Hmm.
sphere representing somebody just told me that yesterday. Somebody that I'm close friends with
Oh,
just told me that last night. Matter of fact,
um,
I'm gonna screenshot it and send it to you once we get off here. She told me
mhm.
exactly that, and I was like, I said when I saw the sphere, I told her I thought of a planet, then I thought of me. But when I thought of the planet, I thought of the planet as a living entity. A living
Yes.
entity is a spiritual being, basically. That's how I was
Right.
looking at that.
Hmm.
And I'm that, and that's me. We're one and the same, etc. But she said exactly what you just said. She said exactly what you said. And I was like, yeah, I can kind of understand that. She
Yes.
even, I think she even went into like the square having the limitations of the corners, something. But
Yes.
I understood what she was saying. But yeah, somebody
Oh,
just told me that last night. So you're
that
not the
lady's,
only one saying that.
it's because it's in occult studies and esoteric studies. So like if you go down that route, like if you go start reading like Aleister Crowley or some of the other
Mm-hmm.
like more like Thoth and like other occult like situations or esoteric texts and stuff, you're going to start learning the symbols because I mean that's the language of the universe, right? The language of the universe is not only in frequency and light, but in symbols and in breath. And so I mean, we can get really complex here. We can have like further, like
Right.
more of these.
I'm
Yeah.
listening. I'm definitely
But
listening and
yeah.
learning.
Yeah. So the fact that that's how it spoke to you, like that's just on par with like how the universe speaks to us and how it reaches out to us and like how all this is all connected. So yeah, it's really cool that your friend said that yesterday and today you're getting a reminder. So maybe just like go down that path and see like what else you learn how it all kind of relates to that vision of yours and what else you can kind of like take from there because I think there's a message. Just
Absolutely will. Definitely will. You
saying.
guys have pushed me in that direction. Like I
Yeah.
said, like I've been saying, with this type of information, one of the things I really like about is
Yes.
learning something new. I love
And
that. So
yeah, it's
it's
kind of a
reinforced when it's
requirement.
coming from two different people. Yeah, when it's coming from two different people, it's reinforced. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, yeah. And no, and I think that once you tap into these abilities or when you tap into these gifts or these yeah, this potential. You understand? It is a requirement for you to keep growing. It is a requirement for you to embody this. It is a requirement for you to serve and like help others and like kind of disseminate this information because then why else would you have it? You understand? Like what other thing is there to do other than to continue to remind others of this magic and this connected universe or the highest potential, our higher selves, as spiritual beings and like these flesh bodies that we are. Like that is the point to remind us of who we truly are. And you've been getting downloads, sir, since you were baby. So you have
You
quite been
pushed me. No, I'm saying when you asked that question,
yes.
when I was answering, I didn't know how I came off, but now my mind is focused on answering that a little bit more
Mm,
articulately. I'm going to
okay.
sit down and really get into that. And it's because of you. And that's what I need. I need somebody to push me
Well, I
to
am here to
explain what was given to me from those geometrical shapes. I talked with a friend of mine about it, and we
yeah,
briefly got into it. And, it's like that's one of those conversations where it's going to go deep. So you
yeah,
kind of like I don't have the time to talk about this now. We get into it later. But now I really want to because I don't want to. I want to make sure I'm able to express my views on that of what I felt. But it was like some of this stuff you gotta take your time with it. You're not gonna
yeah.
you might not can't decipher it at the moment when it's happening, but
Hmm.
later all that stuff starts coming into play, and as you grow older, that stuff it starts coming together like a puzzle.
Yeah.
It starts to come together like a puzzle. So yeah, I want to thank you for that because
Oh,
now
you're
you're
very
giving me an
welcome.
objective. You're giving me an objective to pursue something. Yep.
Well, and then you have to keep
I
me
knew it.
posted
I
and
knew it.
how.
I knew you was a perfect one for this. I knew it.
Thank you, Dylan. Well, I think I'm gonna like time is running out, but like I think that we should definitely have another sort of conversation because you've had so many experiences. Like this is just like the tip of the iceberg sort of situation of the things that you've
Yeah.
had. And like I know you've gone to the Monroe Institute, which is phenomenal. Like for me, that is just like wow, you got to go to the Monroe Institute. Oh my God. So like to just talk
After
about
all
these
these years.
yes. And then to talk about that experience, to see how like now you have an objective to see how that sort of develops and like what comes out of that. I'd love to like keep posted and if you wanted to share that with others. And then, I'm sure that people who connect with you and see this are gonna want to follow this story or like hear more about this, this encounter that you had
Journey.
or just how journey. Perfect. This journey. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing it with me.
Yeah, I didn't expect to go this long, but I'm kind of glad I did. I had to get a lot of stuff off. You pushed this stuff out of me. You have pushed this out of me. And like I said, I'm a good judge of character. I this is basically my number one priority is to get this information out. Yeah, I put together a manuscript. I gotta conclude it somehow, some way. The
Mm,
Monroe um the Monroe program I went to, that was going to facilitate this ending chapter of that book.
okay.
We're definitely gonna get into that. We got to get into projection, which
Yes.
is, man, I can't wait till you get into that. And what's kind of wild is people really think that stuff is hard, and it's not. It's really not that hard. What makes it hard for people is the way that they perceive how they need to go about it.
Exactly. It's all in the mind.
Yeah,
It's all
they
about
don't know,
perception. Yes.
right? I was talking to somebody. I was like, Michelle, you're right there. What you need to learn to do is let go. You're trying
Hmm.
to force something that's natural. It's a
Yeah.
natural process. If you try to force it, You're hindering it.
Yeah.
I was trying to, reinstill that thought in her head. I said,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's going to happen naturally. That's what a lot of people that's been trying to do it, and they're like, I'm having problems. I've been doing this for 7, 8 months because you're trying to force it. It's not going to
Mm-hmm.
happen if you try to force
Mm-mm.
it. It's almost like if your car is on a hill, if you put the brakes on it, it's not going to roll down the hill naturally. That's what you're
Right.
doing.
Yeah.
Let go of the brake. Get your foot off the brake, and the car's going to roll down the hill naturally. Right?
Hmm.
Right. That's what you got to do. The forcing is the brake. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You trying to force it is you putting your foot on the brake. And that's the best way I've
Yeah.
explained that so far.
I think
I'm
that's a very
gonna
good
use
way to
that.
explain it. Yeah, that's a good way of explaining it. I mean, we're the ones who put in the obstacles, we're the ones who put in the brakes because of our preconceived notions, because of what we think that it should be, because of what we how we were told that it should go. We really aren't taught to just let go and trust the universe to be like, I got you. You understand? Like, here you
Yes.
go. And so that's part of this journey too, this spiritual journey, is learning how to let go and trust the universe to sort of catch you and take you where it needs to go, because we're all so different and we all have our own energetic imprint on this, and that shows up differently in our lives, and how that like kind of develops and manifests. It's different, but we're not taught to trust that. We're, as a matter of fact, we're taught to fear it. We're taught that it's not real. We're taught that we're crazy. And so these are the things that kind of keep us from really just evolving and exploring and growing and embodying this reality that we're so blind about, like we're blind from. So the fact that you're helping your friend, I'm sure, as soon as she lets go and starts to trust, it's gonna happen.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
God willing. So yeah,
God willing.
Deborah, I want to thank you so much. I want to
You're
thank you
very
so much for
welcome.
this.
No, thank
This
you.
is
Thank
great.
you. This was an incredible thing, and I can't wait to like talk to you more about this stuff, because I think that it's absolutely like just on par with the experiences that I've had too, and experiences of others that I feel like are true experiencers and have gone through very similar experiences. It's very like on par with that, and like with a lot of the things that we were taught that is crazy and not real, but it is. And so I really do appreciate you coming out and sharing your journey and sharing your story and trusting me again with it. And I can't wait to see where this goes.
Absolutely. The same here. I have the same feelings towards this. I am going to send you maybe like, bits and pieces, elements from my book.
Okay.
Just like it's going to be things I just want you to read, and you tell me, let me get your perspective on what you
Okay.
read. Let me get your ideas on certain things. We will more than likely, I mean, if we do more of these, I mean, maybe like year 3 or 4 years from now, we'll get into that. But right now, I'm just focused on like telling my whole introduction to all this, telling the
Yeah.
world about what changed me. And the whole point of that is to let people know that we're all one thing. We're all the exact same thing. We're
Yeah.
all the exact. We come from the same source. The common denominator is all the same in everybody. And the point of me talking about that is to alleviate the hatred and all of the
Oh,
bigotry and just not just on a racial, just a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world, people's anxieties, paranoia, a lot of that stuff can be eliminated if we all knew that we're basically the same thing.
yeah.
When I was younger, I used to look at like the homeless and wonder why nobody's helping them. It was the corniest thing in the world, but I used to have those thoughts in my head, and I didn't tell nobody that.
Yeah.
I didn't tell nobody that because wasn't nobody doing anything, and I didn't want to seem like the oddball. And then when I learned what self-righteous meant, I was like, well, I don't want to be that. I don't want to hear that. But
Yeah.
that's how I felt. That's how I felt.
I
So,
know.
I knew at an early age I had a purpose. And now it's time for me to talk. After all these years of keeping my mouth closed, it is now time for me to open it. And then with the right people. So you're the right people. Thank you so
Oh,
much, Deborah.
thank you, Dylan. And we will definitely be catching up soon.
All right.
All right.
Take